I'm back in three-row crossover land, this time with the Acura MDX. Acura has been making this model since 2001, and we're now on the 4th generation. This debuted for 2022. That's also the same year that it diverged from the Honda Pilot by getting its own platform, and it's the year that the Type S variant was introduced. This one is the 2024 Acura MDX Type S Advance. So that means that it has the special powertrain and performance components of the Type S, plus all the extra goodies that come with the Advance package. Packages are basically what Acura calls trims. So today, of course, we're going to focus on this, but we're also going to talk about how it compares to that stalwart, trusty base MDX, as well as, of course, other performance-oriented premium three-row crossovers. The fact is that if you are shopping for something like this, you have tons of options. Luckily, CarGurus is here for you with lots of info and listings, so head over to cargurus.com to check that out, but first, please subscribe to this channel. First of all, this color, Apex Blue Pearl. I think this looks awesome. It's nice and punchy in the daylight, and it also looks really good in low light, like in a grocery store parking lot at night with overhead lights, which I imagine grocery store parking lots are where this will spend a fair amount of its time. Now, I would say it doesn't really look like a three-row crossover to me. It doesn't look that big. It manages to be sort of sleeker and more compact in appearance than something like, say, the Infiniti QX60. The grille is almost too big, but only almost. It's hard for me to believe that this design is already a few years old because it still looks fresh and exciting and sharp. The dual eye LED headlights are standard, but we can tell this is the Type S because of the badging. We can also tell because it has the 21-inch wheels. 19-inch wheels are standard on the base MDX, and adding any package to that will get you 20-inch wheels, and then 21-inch wheels are standard with the Type S powertrain. Around the back, we've got the quad-tip exhaust outlets because this is the Type S. I really like the chicane design of these LED taillights. These are standard, and so are the LED DRLs up front that mimic this shape. I love this lighting signature. I think it's really distinctive. When you see this vehicle on the road at night, you know exactly what it is. Inside, the first thing that I notice is this orchid white interior. The leather feels great, very luxe. Of course, this is the top of the line MDX Type S Advance, so it should be nice. Personally, I would never choose this color though. I've actually spent all week being kind of anxious that my denim jacket might stain it a little bit. However, it does really pop visually. Speaking visually, the other thing I notice is the placement of this gear selector smack dab in the center. Now, maybe I'm being too much of a traditionalist, a little bit like one of the sheeple, but I really feel that it should be closer to the driver because this is not a democracy. The driver is in charge. You might as well stick the start-stop button in the middle. And in fact, they have put the drive mode selector in the middle. I get it, aesthetically, it looks nice in the center, but you risk a well-meaning passenger reaching over and changing the drive mode on you when they're intending to just go for temperature or volume. Also, it takes up a lot of space right here. The touchpad here for the infotainment system, the wrist rest that goes along with it, those both take up space too, and then the center console bin is pretty small in there. We don't even have any pockets alongside the middle of this, let alone obviously no pass-through, so it really feels like there's a fair amount of wasted space in here. While we're talking about space, let's check out the second row. We've got a standard removable middle seat here, but as you can see, it also makes a nice armrest with cup holders, so personally, I think that I would leave it in. We've got 38.5 inches of legroom here in the middle row, 41.6 in the front row, and 29.1 in that third row. And headroom really doesn't suffer too much for having this panoramic moonroof. 38.5 inches up front, 38.1 in the middle, and 36.2 in the third row. So the second and third rows are roomier than the QX60s, but the front row is short by about 2 inches on headroom. Now, if you're going to have people in these back two rows frequently, you may want to know that Cabin Talk comes with the A-Spec package on the base MDX. It's standard on the MDX Type S. It has standard tri-zone climate control, which is GPS linked on all but the base trim. Not incidentally, the base trim does not have nav, but that GPS-linked version, that can keep track of your geographic location and account for sunrise and sunset angles where you are to help keep the vehicle's temperature comfortable and consistent. It's got 18.1 cubic feet of cargo space with the third row seats in place, 39.1 behind the second row, and 71.4 with those folded down as well. It's got a standard power liftgate, and if you spring for the advanced package, you get this walk-away close feature. Overall, it's pretty middle of the road in terms of space. There are certainly roomier three-row crossovers, but this is far from the least spacious. The obvious difference between the regular MDX and the Type S is, of course, the powertrain. The regular one comes with a 3.5-liter V6 that makes 290 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. That can have front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Acura's super handling all-wheel drive, to be exact. Either way, it's going to come with a 10-speed automatic transmission. The Type S gets that same transmission, but this has standard all-wheel drive, and it's got a turbocharged 3-liter V6 that makes 355 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. So it's not a ton more power than the base MDX, but it does sound good, especially in sport mode. So in this one, we've got that twin scroll turbo, and then we also have a bunch of other performance components like the larger brake rotors, the Brembo front calipers, the adaptive air suspension, and the performance tires. So far, so good for performance, right? So let's talk about how it feels behind the wheel. I do really like how the steering wheel feels in my hands. The leather all the way around, that's standard. I really like the perforation, and I love the shape of it, especially how it makes it really easy to keep your hands right here at 9 and 3. The steering itself is really light, and not in a good way. It's too light. I would say the ride is pretty comfortable, pretty softened. It maybe jolts a little bit going over sharper edges of potholes. In general, it's pretty comfy, maybe verging a little on floaty in comfort mode. And then the brakes, they're not great. They're NSX-inspired electro servo brakes, so it's a brake-by-wire system, and I would call it inconsistent, which makes it hard to sort of modulate and makes it hard to get what you want out of the vehicle. So that's not ideal. The transmission kind of complains a lot. It could be quite clunky at times, and it feels like it's got a mind of its own. It'll even override your gear choices in manual mode. Doesn't seem to want to listen. It's too eager to follow its set mapping, which is not great to begin with. This transmission feels older than it is. It feels like a real old school automatic, showing the kinds of flaws that led people to invent dual clutch transmissions and CVTs in the first place. Even in sport mode, if you floor it, you will feel it pulling back as it shifts gears, and you'll get that classic kind of sound, really hearing and feeling it shift. That does get better in Sport Plus mode. Basically, if what you're looking for is true sport performance, I'm gonna have to recommend that you look elsewhere. Between the poor transmission response, the really light steering, and the inconsistent brakes, it just doesn't have what I would expect from the Type S badge. If you want more information on that, you can read Chris Wardlaw's full written review over on CarGurus.com, where he really goes into depth about the performance. I keep wanting to call this standard 12.3-inch infotainment display an infotainment touchscreen, but it's not. It's controlled through this touchpad down here. There's no touch functionality at all up here, which has been pretty annoying. The worst part for me has been dealing with Google Maps through Apple CarPlay. I'm trying to look ahead at my route. I just want to be able to swipe or pinch to zoom, and you can't do that. I've had to use this, frankly, pretty finicky touchpad to navigate using the arrows, which is just distracting and irritating. But maybe there's a better way, and if you know it, please let us know in the comments. Now, it does have standard wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a Wi-Fi hotspot. That requires an Acura Link subscription, wireless charging pad, voice recognition, and Alexa built-in. Now, I'm not sure if it's this car, my phone, or just a bad design, but I could not get the wireless charging happening consistently. My phone slid around a lot in here, and even when I was quite sure it was in the right place, it wasn't always charging, and the wrist rest was kind of in the way visually, which made it hard to verify whether or not it was charging. There are 4 different sound systems for the MDX lineup depending on your powertrain and your package. So the base MDX with no extra packages at all, that gets a 9-speaker Acura premium audio system. Adding the tech package is going to get you a 12-speaker ELS Studio premium audio system. Then there's a 16-speaker 3D version of that ELS premium audio system. And the MDX Type S with the advanced package gets an ELS Studio 3D Signature Edition premium audio system with a whopping 25 speakers. So what are you going to use to take advantage of all of that? Well, all MDXs get HD radio, Sirius XM, Bluetooth streaming, and then they all have speed-sensitive volume compensation. The Acura Watch suite of driver assistance features is standard for the whole MDX lineup, so that makes a lot of features standard, including forward collision warning with pedestrian detection, rear cross traffic alert, automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, lane keeping assist, lane centering assist, adaptive cruise control with low speed following capability, traffic jam assist, blind spot monitoring, and rear cross traffic alert. It's almost easier to talk about what's not standard. So rain sensing windshield wipers, low speed braking control, and front and rear parking assist are not offered on the very base MDX, but they do come with every other one. And then the 10.5-inch head-up display and the surround view camera system, those are only available with the advanced package, but you can add that to either powertrain. The 2023 Acura MDX earned a Top Safety Pick Plus award from the IIHS, and the 2024 is fundamentally the same vehicle, although of course it is always possible that software updates will impact the functioning of some of that safety tech. Now, on that note, it is worth reading about Chris Wardlaw's experience with the 2023 MDX Type S in his written review over at CarGurus.com. The 2024 Acura MDX starts right around $50,000 for the base powertrain with front-wheel drive and no extra packages. Opting for that super handling all-wheel drive will add $2,200, and then of course if you add further packages, or AKA go up to higher trims, pricing will go up from there. Now if you're looking at the Type S powertrain, that starts right around $68,000. This one, as tested, comes to $75,295. Now with that, you do get a 3-year Acura Link subscription included, plus 2 years or 24,000 miles of complimentary scheduled maintenance, and Acura's 4-year 50,000-mile new vehicle limited warranty and 6-year 70,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. But that's all true of any MDX, and if you're looking at the Type S, fuel economy becomes a problem. It's rated for just 19 miles per gallon combined. I was seeing more like 17, and I just don't think it has the driving experience that I would expect from the Type S badge. So if you're looking at this as a driving enthusiast, I would recommend that you also consider rivals like the BMW X5 and the Audi Q7. Granted, if you're getting into performance letters like M's and S's, that'll bump you up to the next pricing tier at least, but you may not need to go there to get what you're looking for. And I would recommend that you also test drive the Lexus RX F Sport, because that might do it for you at a lower price. It does pain me to say this. My first vehicle was an Acura. I have a soft spot for the brand. I really wanted to love this. I just don't feel that they've nailed it with the Type S. If you're not so much here for the Type S badge and you just want a stylish, well-equipped, premium 3-row crossover, then the MDX is a great buy. You're just obviously gonna wanna compare things like interior dimensions and features lists before you make your decision. Luckily, we've got all that info for you over at CarGurus.com, full written reviews, and when you've made your choice, listings galore. So head over there, but first, please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next one.